I came across these two side tables at a local estate sale. It's evident that the homeowner had completely forgotten about these because I found them tucked away in the corner of his garage, buried under other things. They are absolutely filthy. They're covered with dirt, debris, grass clippings, and lots of spider eggs. One of the tabletops is very badly water damaged. Now, with it came 3 sets of legs. I won't use them in this project, but I will for something else. But when I saw these 2 tables, I immediately had a vision. You will not recognize them when I am done. So if you'd like to see what I do with these, then sit back and enjoy. Table Flipping Housewife. I am so glad that you joined me today. We're going to be transforming these very retro, probably 70s side tables into something more classic and on trend. You will not recognize them when I'm done. One thing I want to show you is that it's very well constructed. We've got the tongue and groove drawers here. And they're very sturdy. They go in and out really well. When drawers don't stick and they don't need any attention, bonus for me. The side tables have this decorative apron, which I don't like. Those will be coming off. Once the apron is removed, look, there's a whole base here that I can attach new legs. So, let's get started. I used an 80 grit sand pad on my Surfprep, and I sanded all of the first side table, the top and the sides, and then the inside and out and underside of the 2 drawers. I was not able to get rid of that water stain, which I anticipated. So what better reason to paint, which is what I really wanted to do anyway. All right, so now I'm going to switch to a 150 grit foam pad. Now when you're sanding wood with an 80 grit, you have to go incrementally higher. If I went from my 80 grit sand pad straight to a 220, I might not be able to eliminate some of the little pigtailed scratches that the 80 made. So when you're sanding, always go gradually up. 80 grit, 150 grit, and I'll finish with 220 grit. I unscrewed all 8 screws that were holding the apron in place on both tables and removed the apron. It was very satisfying. After that, I used some plastic wood to fill in some cracks that I saw and some dings, and then I'll be ready, once it dries, to sand with 220. I added a little bit of glue to the 2 drawers that needed reinforcement. I didn't have a clamp large enough, so I used 2 to hold those in place while the glue dried. All right, so I'm ready to paint. Now, I recently posted 2 side tables where I gave it that kind of wood grain. Some people refer to it as the Pottery Barn dupe look. I'm going to be doing the same things here. So I won't go into great detail, being that I just covered that, but I will include a link in the description below my video on how to get to that, since I give step-by-step instructions. But what I will do, and I had forgotten all about this, I mixed, you start with a light tan color, and I had mixed some into a primer. This is the Bullseye 123 primer. So it is already mixed with a light tan. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this on. It is a shame that I can't keep these natural wood, because I actually fell in love with the look of it. It's a pretty wood, but it is so stained, not only on the top in a large area, but on some of the drawers as well. So paint it is. Brushing it on became way too tedious, so I switched to a roller. Goodbye, stain. Now I checked, and some of these screws, these two right here, actually go through the wood a little bit on the underside, but I checked with one of the drawers, and them sticking out maybe that much does not compromise the function of the drawers, so I think we'll be fine. The drawers, well, I guess I was only checking the back legs because they did poke up through the wood, which was fine. The drawers don't extend that far back in the back of the cabinet. No big deal. What I didn't take into account was that the nails would be sticking up here, right in the front where the drawers go in. So that couldn't be. So I took all the screws out, at least the ones up front, brought him to a friend's house where he cut a 1/4 inch off with his bolt cutters. So screwed them back in. Their legs are nice and secure. They're not poking through. We're good to go. Well, it's time to start that wood grain, what some people refer to as the Pottery Barn dupe look on the side tables. I just finished the first one and it's super cute. All right, so this is the decorative glaze that I'm using, and you can use a chip brush. It doesn't have to be a fancy brush. I just picked this one up the other day to use it, so this is now designated as my glaze brush. First thing you want to do is, okay, obviously the paint is underneath is dry. The directions do say to wait until the paint is fully cured before you apply this glaze. And what we're going to be doing, like I did originally in my other video, we're going to be using brushes to scratch off the glaze, thereby creating that wood grain. Now, since this is a relatively small piece of furniture, I can get away with doing one side at a time. All right, so the next thing you want to do is get a deck brush like this. I assumed a deck brush would be coarse. It's not. The deck brush has very, very fine, see how it's removing it to look like wood grain? I'm gonna move the camera a little closer while I chit chat. The deck brush, you see how it's brushing off some of that glaze in these lines. The deck brush, the reason this is such a great brush to start with is because the bristles are very fine and the bristles are very dense on the brush. So it takes off, it brushes off the glaze in a very natural way if you're trying to emulate wood grain. And if you'll notice, I'm going off the edge instead of starting on an edge because I don't want that glaze to glop up, okay? You can go back and forth as much as you want. Like I said, it takes a while for this glaze to dry. Now, what I'm going to do next, this is a little different. I found this wallpaper kit at Goodwill today. These are 2 brushes that came with it. So I started with this one. It's just a different, creates a different texture than the deck brush. So we're just adding some more interest. But what I really love is this brush. I love this brush because it's really wide and it covers a lot of area at one time. But I also love that it has the handle on top. When I was doing the top of the other piece, it was so convenient just to brush it like this. Wallpaper brush, at least this one, primo. And you're just going to brush that across the same way. I love this wallpaper brush for this technique. All right, here we go. Deck brush. God, love that. Oh, it's so pretty. Wallpaper brush. I've heard people use dog brushes. Most people use the whisk, which is what I did last time. I didn't personally care for that. Some of the straw pieces were so thick it was taking off really wide bands of glaze. I didn't like that. I like this much better. Yeah, this covers a wide area. I love it. I'm gonna flick up first. Okay. Oh, I love it. Oh, so cool. There you have it. Both tables got 2 coats of Varathane's Polycrylic in a matte finish. I lightly sand it with 400 grit sandpaper in between coats. I had to drill new holes for the hardware I was putting on. I've had these pulls for, gosh, probably 2 years, and this was the perfect project to put them on. Now it's going to be a little tricky because these new holes are going very close to the existing holes, which I did not patch up. I sprayed some flat black spray paint into a little container and painted the screws. Before I show you the final reveal, I wanted to ask you to go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the like button as well. And if you have a constructive thought or a question, please leave me a comment. I'll be sure to get back to you.